This one is not so bad, but there is definitely something to learn from this one. This is a job description that I found very quickly. Just typed in software developer on Indeed, no particular location whatsoever. From the get-go, this is a tech lead for Angular and Java backend, Angular frontend. Right now, I'm not a fan of having a tech lead with a specific tech stack down to this level. You're either a tech lead in Angular and that's what you do. You're a tech lead in Java and this is what you do. But Java plus Angular is not a popular combination. Right now, in this company, it's popular. That's their tech stack. That's fine. But that's going to reduce the amount of candidates that you're going to find. So the better approach in this case would have been tech lead Java with some Angular experience, or better yet, single page application development experience, right? So let's start with this. Now, the one thing that I really like about some job descriptions is that they have this whole thing, what you'll do here. Now, this is important, and you don't see that often, right? You don't see that often in some job descriptions where it says, hey, this is what the actual work you're going to do here, and actually gives you a nice understanding of the role itself, right? Now maybe they may do this for legal purposes or whatever it is, but I particularly like it because it tells me right away what's going on, right? So let's go through it because there are some issues. So improve and develop software system to meet users' needs by finding solutions, solving complex problems, coding, testing, debugging, and documenting systems. Okay, fair enough. It's the documenting aspect that is a bit difficult. You're going to hire a tech lead. I think the role here was paying 150, 180K Canadian, right? So Canada, we pay less. And you're going to get them to be documenting the systems, right? And develop solutions that meet users' needs. There's a lot of words here that don't need to be mentioned, right? Basically, this entire thing doesn't need to be mentioned. What you can say is, you're going to be actively coding. This is an active development role. You're going to be actively coding. Again, too many words that have zero value. It just mars the entire job description. Because remember, candidates have the same attention span as hiring managers and technical recruiters and HR and so on and so forth, right? They'll read this, okay, this is too much talk, too much yappity yap, right? In this case, it doesn't make any sense. I would remove this or I would reduce it down. Active coding role, okay? Now, take part in production support activities, troubleshooting production issues, and performance bottlenecks, identifying fixes. Okay, fair enough, right? No real issue here. They should mention, now I know this particular company, so I know it's fine. It's a much bigger company. They have the proper organizational system in place. They've got DevOps and SREs and everything, but this makes it look like the tech lead will be doing all of it, right? Will be in charge of production as well and troubleshooting here and so on and so forth, that's a lot of work for one person. That's a lot of work for one person. Guides, mentors, and coaches. Sorry. So before we go back to that one, what should have been said here is work with SREs and DevOps. Show that your company has a proper technical organization. This means a lot. It means a lot for candidates. Oh, I'm applying into a company that has a proper structure. Okay, because we're so used to working with companies that don't know how to organize an engineering team, a technical organization, right? The SREs, the DevOps, the processes, the policies, all that. So many just don't know how to do it, right? And so it's worth mentioning and boast a little bit. It's good. This is the time to boast. Next item. Guides, mentors, and coaches the team members in various development and technical activities. Okay, so there's coaching and mentoring and whatnot. Totally fine. 100% up, right up there with a tech lead job. Lead the analysis, design, and realization of an initiative involving a development team. What the heck does this mean? Yeah, no, I get what that means, but what are we working at here? Are you expecting the tech lead to lead something? They're a tech lead, obviously, right? But what are they going to be leading? Are you expecting them to innovate? And how? From what perspective? Do you have a proper product management team in this case? It sounds good. And candidates will read this and say, okay, yeah, cool. I get to lead something, but what do I get to lead? Give a little bit more. So for example, hey, allow your creativity to shine. Find solutions to complicated problems within your development team, right? We appreciate initiative. Oh, okay. Now you're telling me what you're expecting from a candidate. Take part in all project phases to ensure completion by collaborating with users and communicating status reports. Now, are you saying that I'm going to be project managing in this case to ensure completion by collaborating with users and communicating status reports? Who am I communicating a status report to? Not a big problem. That's fine. Yes, tech leads need to report a status report, but the issue that I'm having here is with the words communicating status reports. This to me is the problem. Are you asking me to now write a full email and so on and so on and give you a status of what's going on? But because now you're definitely not in the agile sphere. Agile, big air quotes, right? If you're listening to this and you're not watching this. So you're not really in that sphere. This is more of a waterfall method almost, saying, okay, here's the 500 tasks that we have to do and all of these components that need to be built, and here's the status reports. In reality, if someone's watching over the tech lead, as there should be a director, a VP, whatever it may be there for that particular organization, right? Everything should be logged properly in the issue management system, including additional work that hasn't been planned for, right? The tech lead needs to redesign something that wasn't planned for. It should be in there. Everything should have an issue, and every merge request should have or every PR should have at least one issue, right? Or an issue should have at least one PR, but it could have multiple PRs. We know that. That's the part that rubs me the wrong way. I'm not very excited about that part. Right there, it tells me, okay, I'm walking into a heavy organization. Oh my gosh, I'm walking into a very heavy organization. I wouldn't put this in there, right? Provide deployment support for production systems to guarantee their functionality. Okay. What does that mean? Again, because now you're also take part of production support activities. So provide deployment support. Is this DevOps? Which is fine. Tech leads should all know their DevOps. They should be able to write their GitHub actions. They should be able to write command line. They should be able to build Docker containers and so on and so forth. But what else is going into there, right? Because if they're to provide deployment support for production system and to guarantee the functionality, there's two problems here. First is provide deployment support for production, which means they're involved in every deployment, right? So are your deployments not fully automated and not scripted? You don't adhere to GitOps, which is fine if you're not, but then you have to say that. And then guarantee systems to guarantee their functionality. Will the tech lead be testing in production? Is there no staging environment? So this right here, this one line is putting into question the quality of the technical organization. It's putting into question how mature the engineering culture is, just right there and then. And I'm sure they didn't mean it this way. Again, I know this company, I know they have it. But because of the way this was written, it puts it into question for someone who doesn't know the company, right? Ensure systems are optimal, meet quality standards by analyzing, providing suggestions, and developing assessments. Does this to meet quality standards? You can find that's every tech lead is going to meet the coding standards of the company or the idiomatic standards of a particular programming language and architecture and so on and so forth. But by analyzing and providing suggestions, okay, fair enough. That's fine. I feel like it's something that doesn't need to be met or needs to be said, right? Make recommendations and participate in improving development and system maintenance processes. Okay, so now we're going into a meta level of the tech lead, right? Because here they're coding, right? They're actively developing, and here they're making recommendations in areas that they're developing in. It's possible. It's fine. I've done it as well. Many people do it every day, but it's not mind numbing. That's negative. What's the right word here? It's heavy. And there's a lot of context switches because you're in it and then you have to be above it and then go back in it and be above it and back and forth and back and forth. And that's two roles, really, right? That's two roles. That should be the person above the tech lead that's looking at making those recommendations, or the tech lead shouldn't be actively developing all day long so that they can focus on that part, right? This is the kind of stuff. If I was a candidate, I'd look at this. I'm like, okay, you're asking for a lot here, buddy. This is a little bit much. Okay. Apply the SDLC, soft system development lifecycle. Okay. Development methodology to ensure standards are met. Okay, so we're in the 1990s now. That's just straight up 1990s. We're done. SDLC, my gosh, we haven't mentioned that in so long. I feel like they added that just in there. Maybe their CTO is old school from the 90s. Who knows? Then impose this on them. Who knows? Okay. What you bring to the table. That's what you bring to the table. Yeah, your backpack. A degree in computer engineering, soft computer science, or combination or equivalent education and experience. Please remove this. No, seriously, just remove this outright. Seriously. Because there's nothing in this role or in the tech lead's role that would make them any better if they had a computer engineer or computer science degree. Nothing. Because they're not building anything so fantastic that they need deep software engineering knowledge, right? System level programming. This is Angular and Java. This is your basic software development. This is not complicated stuff. Remove this, because what this tells you right away is, and even though you said or equivalent education and experience, even though you're saying this, you're already alienating a lot of people that didn't go to school. They didn't do computer science in school. I didn't. I see this, I'm like, yep, I'm not getting this job. I'm not even going to apply at this. Boom, reducing the amount of people you're going to get. Now, what does university mean anyways? It means that you sat there for 4 years and you're able to pass some tests, right? The 8 to 10 years of software design and development experience, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a completely different ballgame, right? This, please, just if you're HR, if you're a tech lead, don't put this in. Just completely omit it. Now, let's go back to this one now. Let's go to this one. 8 to 10 years of software design and development experience. Is it 8 to 10 years of software design experience, 8 to 10 years of development experience, or a combination of both? Because you start as a developer for a good 8 to 10 years before you're given the responsibility of designing software. Designing software is a much more complicated aspect. They very rarely teach that in schools, right? We don't have many certificates or there's a lot of knowledge out there, but this is knowledge that's forged in the field, right? There's some things you just have to work towards it. So of software design, but it's very high level software design, right? I don't know about that one. You should have just said 8 to 10 years in software development, and that's it. And frankly, to be honest, above 5 years is already not that much, but I understand they're looking for a tech lead. They want a little bit. Okay. Knowledge of service-oriented architecture, mesh app, and service architecture. I don't know what the heck mesh app is. And service architecture, I know service-oriented architecture, that makes sense. But what's a service architecture? Microservice architecture? Did they, maybe the spell check remove micro? I don't. Okay. Knowledge. I like when they say knowledge. You've heard of it. You've worked with it potentially. You've been exposed to it, right? That's useful. Okay. Great level of object-oriented analysis and design experience and good understanding of UX design patterns. Holy moly. Okay. Okay, so great level of object-oriented analysis. So this tells me the system is deeply monolithic right from the get-go. Because yes, we still deploy object-oriented principles, right? Object-oriented OOP or OOP. Yeah, object-oriented principles or programming, whatever it's called, right? We still apply it even in more modern API-driven development, right? We try not to, because object-oriented means we encapsulate too much. We make it way too complicated and much harder to test, right? And much harder to test. So great, but object-oriented analysis, what does that mean? You think in objects? I guess one API contacts another API. Okay, fair enough. Doesn't really need to be mentioned. Great level of, and design experience. Okay, so object-oriented design. UML? Are they going to start like drawing out on Figma or Miro or whatever, like class dependencies? Fine. If that's what the role requires, at least state that. But then they go a completely different angle and good understanding of UX design principles. We went from object-oriented analysis, whatever the hell that means, to UX design principles. Those are two different jobs. Those are really just, they're two different jobs. I can't do UX to save my life. I can spot bad UX, 100%. I can spot bad UX. That's not a problem. But I can't do UX as a tech lead, right? CTO, tech lead, right? Obviously, it depends on the organizations you're working for. Why UX design principles, right? That's the thing is with UX is there's science in there. That's a role that requires years and years of honing and understanding human psychology and human computer interface. This is not for a tech. Remove this. What is this? Right? What is this? A minimum of 2 to 3 years of JavaScript, TypeScript, Angular 2+, HTML, CSS, Ajax, sandwiches, can not ticklish, can eat soup without drowning. What the heck, man? A minimum of 2 to 3 years in JavaScript. Okay, fine. TypeScript, sure. If they didn't have TypeScript, would you say no to them? No, you wouldn't, but whatever, fine. I would say typically it's JS, TypeScript / TypeScript, JavaScript / TypeScript, yeah, either or. Angular 2.0, 2+, okay, fine, not a problem. I don't know what version of Angular we are, but I feel like that's really old, but that's okay. Now, the fact that they said HTML, CSS, and Ajax, hell not. Listen, HTML is a requirement now for just to be a developer, right? CSS as well. Now, you don't need to have expertise in CSS because, again, like UX, CSS is an epic headache to work with, right? It's very complicated. And so there are roles specifically for that. Like in my technical orgs, whenever we need to do CSS, if we don't need to do it that often, I just bring in a contract. I'm like, you do this. That's it. You build the HTML, you build the CSS. Here's some Figma, commit it into this repo, and then we'll take over from that point on because that's all that's needed. And then my devs afterwards can go in and make small adjustments if they don't know, or they get trained to do so. But again, you're asking for a little bit too much here. Now, Ajax is a communication protocol that we really, it's not even a communication protocol, it's a communication method, for APIs, for whatever it is, right? You really don't need to mention it because as soon as you mention Angular, by default, you have to have Ajax. You can't not have it. It's just not possible because that's how it communicates with the backend. It's aging the company a little bit. It makes them look way older than they are, and they actually are very old, right? But Ajax, again, is not a term you need to mention, right? From a candidate's point of view, you guys are old. I'm not going to do anything interesting. I don't want to work for you. So many companies want to have the rockstar developers, but then they write garbage like this, and they put garbage statements like this in their job descriptions. And then they ask themselves, where are all the good candidates? Why can't I find the good candidates? They don't apply. But yeah, because you're mentioning something like Ajax, right? Yeah, let's not do that. Okay. A minimum of 3 to 5 years, that's a big minimum, of experience building server-side apps using Java 8, JDBC, Hibernate, and creating web services APIs using REST. We're going to get to the SOAP part in a minute. Okay. Not a big deal. You just don't need to mention JDBC, to be honest, or Hibernate. It's an ORM, right? If you're a tech lead, you're going to pick it up. I can guarantee you're going to pick it up. This is going too much into the detail, right? Because now I have some Java experience. I could pick up Hibernate. It's not a problem. It's an ORM, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or I'll Google it really quickly and I'm like, I understand Hibernate because you know what? I've worked with other ORMs in the past. Okay. Am I not able to work at this company now? 3 to 5 years building server-side apps? Specifically with all of this? I don't know about that. Most developers don't stick around for more than 3 years at a company, and they'll switch to another company. And they may not even stay within the same tech stack, or they might more likely stay within the same tech stack, but still. Okay. Now, what else is creating web services or APIs using REST and SOAP. I like how and SOAP is right here. Now, SOAP is an old school protocol, very old school protocol, very enterprise protocol. You are not going to find many people who know SOAP. You won't. I see this, I'm like, okay, I'm not even applying to this, right? Now, I happen to have SOAP, so I happen to know the pain and suffering that is working with SOAP XML and whatnot, and enterprise message queues. And happens to be a financial organization, so they might need to communicate with banks over SOAP, which is fine. That's not an issue. Train your people. Don't even mention it. Or mention it and say, experience with SOAP, a plus, but not required. Do it that way. Because then you tell me, oh, okay, I don't have experience, but it'll teach me. All right, excellent. Then I like this company. It tells me a lot with this company, right? Now, 2+ years of experience with relational databases such as Oracle 12 plus PLSQL and NoSQL, such as MongoDB or Elasticsearch. Okay. That's a lot of techs. Many tech leads have it. It's not really a big deal. It's the Oracle 12 plus specifically and PLSQL specifically. Now, you have to be more specific when it comes to this, because Oracle 12 and PLSQL is a different beast than your traditional SQL, right? Than your traditional SQL. Are they going to be writing procedures within Oracle, stored procedures within Oracle? Are they going to be writing really complicated database, not database queries, but database manipulation scripts? That's what it tells me. You're going to specify a little bit more. And 2+ years, okay, fine. I've worked with Oracle 12, I've worked with PLSQL, but that was 20 years ago. Ooh, I'm dating myself a little bit here, right? Now, on top of that, you have to have NoSQL database such as MongoDB or Elasticsearch. Now, MongoDB and Elasticsearch, yes, they're NoSQL, but they are dramatically different from each other, right? If you have Elasticsearch experience, doesn't mean you have NoSQL experience. Elasticsearch is its own beast, right? It's its own tech. It shouldn't even be mentioned within this statement. It should be an addition. Hey, by the way, we also use Elasticsearch. Okay. And then the rest is Canada specific, whether you need to speak French and English and so on and so forth. So in general, I would rate this job description 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. You're going to get your older developer with this. You're going to get not your older developer. I'm sorry. That's definitely not the term I wanted to say. You're going to get the developer that wants to work within the enterprise space. You're going to want to get the developer that's worked at a big bank. That's what you're going to get. And that's fine, because this is a banking company. I'm just giving you my perspective from this. Right? Thank you very much for listening for another analysis of a job description. I'll have plenty more. And as my kids tell me, YouTubers have to say, smash the subscribe button. I don't know. I have to figure this whole thing out. All right? Have a good